What is going on, y'all? It is the Caveman back at it again with another video, and finally some significant NFL news has broke. Something that isn't the Deshaun Watson situation has happened. Something that's actually worth talking about has finally happened in the NFL. James Conner did also sign with the Arizona Cardinals this week, but I just felt like that was not significant. There's not much substance to it. I don't think James Conner is bringing all that much of a different dimension to the Cardinals than what they already had, so I just feel like that wasn't worth talking about. But now we have Jadeveon Clowney inevitably signing with the Cleveland Browns. They've been talking back and forth for a while now. He'd been visiting there a couple times and finally has found his landing spot in Cleveland. But before we hop into that, you guys know the drill. We got the applesauce in a packet. The packet for 5-year-olds. You suck this shit up. It tastes very good. This is my favorite flavor. I think this is regular. I think this is just regular applesauce. I like cinnamon too, but Mott's applesauce. Your shit is very good. If you don't like applesauce, you're missing out because the shit is good. But anyway, some significant NFL news. Jadeveon Clowney signs with the Cleveland Browns, and this actually opens the door to a lot of different questions. And the main question being, how much does this actually help the Cleveland Browns? Does this get them one step closer to being a Super Bowl contender? Were they already Super Bowl contenders? Does this get them any closer than what they already were? But before we answer that question, let's look at Jadeveon Clowney himself. Obviously, Jadeveon was known as one of the most prolific, one of the most dominant pass rushers over the last decade when he was in his prime. Obviously, over these past couple of years, he has definitely fallen off due to injuries, a different role on different teams. A lot of different things have derailed his career up to this point, but when he was in his prime, when he was in his heyday over in Houston, he was the most dominant pass rusher that we had in the NFL, and it really wasn't even close. But like I just mentioned, ever since his departure from Houston, he really was never the same. He played with Seattle for a year and then played with Tennessee, and it's really sad to see because that guy was exciting to freaking watch, and I really hope he's able to get back to that form over in Cleveland. Coming off of 3 straight Pro Bowl seasons and 2 straight seasons of 9+ sacks, Jadeveon Clowney went to Seattle and then dealt with some injuries, never was the same, and then he went over to Tennessee and pretty much repeated the same cycle. Injuries, just was not able to produce. He had actually no sacks in 2020 with the Tennessee Titans, although he only played 8 games. Still did not record a sack. He just never was the same. And I am more than optimistic that Jadeveon Clowney will, return to that dominant form, or at least somewhat of that dominant form that he used to be over in Cleveland, because I think that combination with Myles Garrett is going to be something to be reckoned with. If you're playing against the Cleveland Browns this year, you're going to have to watch out for that duo, especially with Sheldon Richardson in the middle as well. That guy is a force himself, so it's going to be a dominant defensive line, and I think I'm projecting, in my personal opinion. As long as Clowney is able to stay healthy, I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with himself, but I think he's getting to the age where he really can't be the only guy on the D-line just doing all the wrecking. I think he definitely needs to be the second focal point, and with Myles Garrett, that's exactly what he's going to be. He won't be catching double teams. He won't be the main focus of the offensive line to be blocking, so I think that'll be very, very significant in helping him produce this season, and that's exactly the situation he's finding himself in. He's got a couple other guys on this D-line that are going to be able to take focus away from him so he can go to work. If we're going under the assumption that Jadeveon Clowney is not only able to stay healthy, but also able to return to somewhat of that old dominant force that he used to be, then this is a huge, huge, huge signing for the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, 1 year at $10 million, $8 million guaranteed, $2 million in incentives. This is a very big signing because their defense last year was not all that hot, especially their secondary. Their secondary would get sliced and diced like nobody's business, and unless they got pressure on the opposing quarterback, they really freaking struggled on defense. And obviously, Jadeveon Clowney is pressure. He is Mr. Pressure, at least he used to be. So if he's able to stay healthy and, kind of play his game, that is a huge boost to that Cleveland defense because they rely on pressure in order to play defense. So let's address the big question at hand here. Does signing Jadeveon Clowney get the Cleveland Browns that much closer to the Super Bowl? Does it get them that one extra step closer to getting to the Super Bowl? And I'm going to be a little more optimistic than the next guy, but I truly think it almost gets them 2 steps closer. Well, why do I say this? Well, let me tell you why. I am being probably a little too optimistic, but I'm really thinking that Jadeveon Clowney is going to return to somewhat of that form that he used to be. I think alongside Myles Garrett, that energy, that type of pressure they're going to be bringing to the opposing quarterback, I think is going to be too much for a lot of their opponents, and I think it's going to be a dominant force. And I'm talking like Washington football team kind of D-line force. Like, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with on the defensive side of the ball, and it doesn't matter how bad their secondary is. Their secondary could be worse than it was last year. I think this pressure that's going to be brought is going to be just unblockable. As we all know, the Cleveland Browns had a hell of a season last year. Kevin Stefanski won Coach of the Year. They went 11-5, tied for second in their division behind the Steelers, tied with the Ravens. They made it to the second round of the playoffs, barely lost to the Chiefs. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes got hurt, but still, barely lost to the Chiefs. But they were a force to be reckoned with last year, and they didn't even have this extra pressure from Clowney that they're going to get this year. So, I mean, they can only go forward. This team can only only go up. I'm looking forward to what the Browns will bring in 2021. And if I'm being totally honest, I do not see the Steelers being any kind of competitive next season whatsoever. And I'm not even talking in the entire AFC conference. I'm talking about the AFC North division itself. I think that division is going to be up for grabs between the Browns and the Ravens, and I'm giving it to the Browns. We saw tremendous improvement from the Browns in the 2020 season. Like, I'm talking substantial improvements across the board from that Cleveland team. And as far as the Ravens go, from their 2019 to 2020 season, we saw them go down. We saw them decrease. We saw Lamar struggle a lot more than he did in his 2019 MVP season. So I'm not sure what they're going to be able to change in order to keep up with the Browns. And I do think the Browns take that AFC North division in 2021. With that being said, the Browns already competed for not only their own division last season, but for the conference itself. So I fully expect with the addition of Jadeveon Clowney, they get even better, they get even more competitive, and I fully expect them to be a top 5, maybe even top 4 team in the AFC next season. But there is one other very important piece that is imperative to the Browns' success in 2021, and he needs to carry over his end of season success in 2020 into this following season of 2021. And if he's able to do that, then this team will be very successful. And he does not play on the defensive side of the ball, and this can go without being said, but Baker Mayfield needs to be able to carry over his momentum from last season into this season. It can be looked at as easy or even stupid for me to sit here and preach how important it is for Baker Mayfield's play to be good in order for the Cleveland Browns to be good next season. Obviously, that goes without saying. He's the quarterback. It's very important for the quarterback to be good in order for the team to be good. But there is no doubt in my mind that Baker Mayfield is the X factor, is the key piece in order for Cleveland to be successful next season. I'm not talking about Jadeveon Clowney. I'm not talking about Myles Garrett. I'm not talking about the running backs in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I'm talking about Baker Mayfield. This guy is the key piece in order for Cleveland to be successful next season. When we saw Baker Mayfield heat up at the end of last season, we saw Cleveland go from a very good regular season team to a very good playoff team, to a dangerous playoff team. It all rides on the shoulders of Baker Mayfield and his performance. If Cleveland goes into next season and they get a passive, a game-managing Baker Mayfield, they will not be as good as they could be. If they get a Baker Mayfield that's confident, that can pass the ball well, that isn't relying on a run game, they will get a Super Bowl contending roster, but it all rides on the shoulders of Baker Mayfield. It doesn't ride on the running backs. It doesn't ride on the defense. It rides on Baker Mayfield solely himself. Even though I have made fun of Baker Mayfield in the past, he really showed that he could ball out at the end of last season, and he showed that he could be that quarterback that the Browns needed in order to be successful. So next season completely rides on Baker Mayfield himself. If they get a good Baker Mayfield, the rest of the pieces will fall into place for them, and they will be a very dangerous, not only regular season team, but a very dangerous playoff team in the AFC as well. But yeah, like I said, I fully expect the Browns to be a top 5 team in the AFC, and maybe even a solidified top 10 team in the NFL as a whole. I really expect them to be very good next season. Do you think I'm being too optimistic? I'm not even a Browns fan. Am I just being too optimistic as a whole? I don't know. I want to know your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you think I'm being too optimistic? Do you think I'm being too hopeful for the Cleveland Browns? Do you think Jadeveon Clowney really gets them a step closer to being Super Bowl contenders? I want to know your opinions down below. Any other football thoughts you may have, leave them down in the comments as well. But if you enjoyed the video, and I hope you did, please like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. If you want to hit the bell to be notified when I upload, I would appreciate that. If you want to go over to Twitter, follow me over there, I would appreciate that as well. But I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.